So Caitlin Clark's college coach, Lisa Bluder, has retired from Iowa, and there are an awful lot of rumors about her potentially coaching Caitlin at the WNBA level, especially because Christy Sides is... I don't think she's going to last very long, and it's not necessarily that she's a terrible coach, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch much of the Fever last year. I watched a couple of games, and it's really hard to tell. Like, it was her first year as a WNBA head coach. The team was terrible. They won 13 games, got the number 1 overall pick. So it is hard to tell. Obviously, she was an assistant for years. But it is very clear that regardless of what ends up happening, regardless of the fact that she's probably going to lose the battle between her and Caitlin Clark, or her and the world trying to kind of rein in Caitlin Clark, it's very obvious that she wants Caitlin Clark just to fit into her system, and she doesn't want Caitlin Clark to beat the system because of the way that she's saying things. It's not necessarily what she's saying. Saying, like, Caitlin Clark needs, like, to be a bit more comfortable scoring from the mid-range. She'd rather have more comfortable being able to score in different ways. Like, that's a completely different thing than criticizing basically every little thing about Caitlin Clark's game, which is what she did. Like, it's very clear that everything that Christy Sides knows about basketball, Caitlin Clark is the opposite. And that's completely fair. Like, in general, if you see Stephen Curry, everything you know about basketball, you just throw out the window. Because there are a lot of things that you'll see with Steph Curry. So you'll see Steph Curry do, and the ball will just go in. And it's really common at the NBA level for players to just be good. For players to just be too good. Like the Paul George scenario where it's a bad shot. The Dame Lillard thing. Yeah, it is a bad shot, but a lot of the times players make bad shots. And I think that's what we've seen more so than anything. For Caitlin Clark, it's the first time we've really seen that in the women's game, is a player who's able to hit those bad shots like that, which is why she's so popular. Like, I'm going to say this now. Is Caitlin Clark that much better a basketball player as Paige Beckers? She's much better at being a system. She's much better at leading a team. But if you were to put Caitlin Clark on the Aces or Paige Beckers on the Aces, which one would be better? Probably Paige Beckers. But Caitlin Clark is going to... We all know that she's there in a situation where she might have to save the league. And obviously, Lisa Bluder coached her in Iowa. She built the system around Clark. And she has put in the perfect system. Recruited the right players, considering they weren't getting any, like, crazy first round or crazy, like, top 10 recruits or anything for a lot of the time. They weren't like UConn. But she was able to build the system around Caitlin Clark. And a lot of people are expecting her to walk into the WNBA now because Sides' days are numbered. Let's be real. Just Sides' philosophy on basketball versus what the Indiana Fever have to do don't align. And that's fine. Like, that can happen. Sometimes you can be a wrong coach for the wrong team. Sometimes you can be the right coach for the wrong team. Sometimes you can be a really good WNBA or NBA coach and just not be in the right situation. Or you can be a coach that's very dependent on your situation. For example, like, I'm not sure as to how good Steve Kerr is going to be when he doesn't have Draymond or Steph Curry. But also, Draymond or Steph Curry probably don't get that type of freedom without Steve Kerr. It works both ways. But when it comes to the whole coaching situation, like, a 63-year-old coach who's never coached in the WNBA is not just going to be a WNBA coach. And it's also going to be different when at the pro level, because there's a complete difference when it comes to egos involved, how you can get the players to play. Like, in Iowa, it was very clear that Caitlin Clark was the number one option. She was everything. And the other players, like, as good as Kate Martin is, like, Kate Martin, again, made the Aces roster. As good as Gabby Marshall is, as good as Susanna was, Stulke was, Fulter just ran. Like, as good as these players were, it was very clear, like, their whole thing was, our job is to do everything we can to free up stuff for Caitlin Clark. And because of that, we're going to get free. We just need to run our asses off. And the players that Caitlin Clark is going to be playing with are too good at the WNBA. Like, too good to just basically say, you know what, we're going to give everything to Caitlin. We're going to completely change everything themselves. So I don't think it's going to be that as easy as just bringing in our Iowa coach. I think there has to be some sort of a happy medium. And I don't think either coach is necessarily the right thing, because you've got some insanely good, like, insanely talented players, and especially with how few, like, teams are in the WNBA, you can stack up talent pretty quickly, especially if Caitlin Clark's ability to pass is good. or is like translates as well, people are going to want to play with her. So it is going to be like an interesting thing what's going to happen throughout this year with her, whether the coach finds a way to figure it out, whether she doesn't, or how Caitlin Clark necessarily translates. Because as of right now, her and Aliyah Boston is not working. It doesn't look like it's going to work together. Caitlin Clark plays at almost too fast a pace for Aliyah Boston. So Aliyah Boston isn't going to be as effective. And like, she doesn't run as much as Caitlin Clark would hope from bigs. I thought that they'd be a really good pairing. I really did, because obviously Aliyah Boston was incredible in her rookie year, but I'm not sure how they fit. And with Caitlin Clark, it is going to be one of those like things that could be her one flaw at the WNBA level, is that you might have to surround her with a specific type of player, especially because her success, the more successful she is, the better the league's going to be. So I think in general, you do kind of have to surround Caitlin Clark with a certain type of player. And I'm not sure that, like, obviously in her first year, that's not going to happen. But I wonder what's going to happen with the Fever. I don't think they're going to fire the coach straight away. I think they're going to give her a shot. And there's no point doing it. Like, there's no point just taking the Iowa college coach to come in and expect her to do the exact same thing when it comes to, like, with Clark's college basketball, because it's a different game. When you progress through the higher levels, especially when the talent level goes up, you have to coach in a different way. A lot of coaching at the highest level, whether it be WNBA or NBA, is about ego management. It's about figuring out what way to get the best out of your players, rather than having a system and molding your players into fitting the system. The players are too talented at the higher levels that a lot of the time you have to build your system around your players, which I actually think neither is the option. Going back to the Iowa system in college isn't the correct option, because you've got better players around her, so that exact system doesn't work, and neither does trying to make Caitlin Clark the face of the league be a just role player, just be an average point guard, because that's the way you were taught that point guard should be, and that's your coaching philosophy. It doesn't work either. I don't think it's going to work either way, and I don't think bringing Bluder into the WNBA is going to change anything. Could it? Like, will she be better? Like, would I rather have a coach go through everything? Would it be better if a coach gave Caitlin Clark the free reign to do whatever the hell she wanted, ran everything through her, over trying to minimize her impact? Yes, that's better, but I don't think either of them are going to be the best as far as long-term success with her goes. Because again, Caitlin Clark having long-term success is way better for the league than Caitlin Clark fizzling out early, or having to try and work her way and not having the greatest start. But anyway, that is the video, lads. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.